Okay, as per requested, here is a Abyss 11, or I should say 111 clear. The team that I chose to use was Adventurer Raz, Tamarin, Spectre Tenebria, and Fallen Cecilia. As far as I know, Tamarin, for at least the way I'm doing it, Tamarin and Adventurer Raz are not really replaceable. Spectre, you can use Sermia because you just are looking for a high damage DPS that can, work effectively on rage set. Spectre just synergizes the best there with that, so that's why I went with that. Fallen Cecilia is here because in the second phase we need to have melee provoked, so you have to have somebody with very consistent provokes. I chose Fallen Cecilia because it's just a comfort pick, and she has 100% chance to provoke on her S1. So that's pretty much the only reason we're using that. You can use Crimson Armin if you do not have Fallen Cecilia. Otherwise, you might have to get fancy, maybe use Sanya or something like that, because you really need somebody with an S1 that can provoke. That's the most important thing. And Krell's obviously not going to work because he's blue versus green. So for this first phase, excuse me, against the Heat Samaquas, all you're really trying to do is kill him as fast as possible because he has, I think it's 5 to 6 turns before he enrages. So yeah, you basically have to kill him before then, because if you don't, and you'll see it later on when we go through the rest of this fight, him and all of his ads enrage, and then they start doing just tons of damage, and they just get insanely fast. So you really, really have to, put the pedal to the metal. My strategy for this was just to have a really fast Raz. My Raz is 260 speed. Put all my speed gear on it. It is free on equip as of the time of doing this, so I just took all my speed gear off everybody, just jammed it onto Raz to get him as fast as possible, and then put him on Warhorn for not only the increased damage, but also to zoom even faster, because he basically protects Spectre with the immunity, and he guarantees more damage. So the faster we can get Raz, the faster we can get down the first phase, and the faster we can burst down the boss on the second floor. If you do not land almost every defense break on this first floor, you're gonna wipe. So this is awful. This is basically the worst part of the fight, is actually the first floor, because of just how RNG heavy it can be. You feel like you're always cutting it close every single time. Yeah, it's just rough. I've played through this so many times. There's about as much RNG in the first floor of 111 as there is in the entirety of 110. I found 110 to be a lot easier than this floor. This took me about 2 hours, I think, to beat 111. Whereas 110, I think it was maybe 90 minutes worth of grinding total to get the RNG in my favor for the win. But yeah, this first fight sucks. The second fight is significantly easier, so don't have to worry about that. So I think our next attack with Raz is a win here. And see, now that's rough there, because you see I lost Tamarin Idol, so I'm not going to be synced quite up, which is going to be really rough here. On this second phase, you want to keep Mui provoked as long as possible, because if you do not have Mui provoked, she will use this move that gives, I think it's 2 to 3 bleed stacks, stuns your whole team, and penetrates a huge chunk of defense, which is this move right here you're going to see. So, does quite a lot of damage, and you can see it's got the stun and the bleeds there, like I talked about. So you really need to keep her debuff there. You also want to keep your AoEs to a minimum, because you can see the one buff has an evade, or I should say the one mob has an evade buff. If the character evades at all, so if you AoE and there's an evade and they accidentally evade, Mui will actually counter you and hit you with some kind of debuff that can be debilitating. Her S1 does quite a lot of debuffs. It could be blind, it could be unhealable, and it could be defense break. Defense break could lead to a loss, as could blind. Blind in general is one of the banes of your existence, which is why Crimson Armin is probably better for this fight than Fallen Cecilia, because she can give immunity, so you don't have to worry about that as much. But for me, in this fight, because I used Fallen Cecilia and not Crimson Armin, I had to Hail Mary a lot of 50-50 scenarios where I was blinded, so keep that in mind. Fallen Cecilia is actually harder to do this with than Crimson Armin. You only really want to be using S2 on Raz, by the way, when you have souls. You don't really want to use it any other time. You'll notice my Tamarin is super not tanky in this fight. I'll show you the guys, the gear, the stats at the end. There's a lot of close calls in this fight. So yeah, you can see right there, I got another blind that I probably shouldn't have gotten. But yeah, this is basically the strategy at this point. We're just, every time Roz can S2, we S2. Whenever it's safe to throw up Roz S3 or Fallen Cecilia S3, we do it. And then whenever we can idle, we idle. There's not really much else to talk about here for the rest of this fight. It's just going through the motions. When she gets to 40%, she'll revive all of her mobs if they're dead, so don't bother killing them. And then also, she will use her S3 immediately. So that's kind of like the break bar, so to speak, for the fight, where you get to 40% and then she just does her thing. RNG, by the way, was not super on my side for the first half of this fight because I literally keep missing every defense break, despite my Roz having, the cap for effectiveness for this floor. Yeah, like I said, this is like really touch and go. There's nothing like special or crazy about this floor. It's just the whole floor is just RNG. It's way harder than both 112 and 113, which are being uploaded as well today. So yeah, if you guys can pass 111, you will breeze through 112 and 113. So there's S3 to strip. This is where that Warhorn comes in handy, by the way, because you can cycle through the stuns a little bit faster and get your turn back a little bit quicker. I'm like so worried that throughout this whole fight that like my Fallen Cecilia is just gonna die. She's just taking so much punishment throughout the entire fight, and she's not even the frontliner. Look, we missed another defense break. How surprising. Just using S2 whenever we can to keep everybody as topped off as possible. There's no evade buffs here, so this is a free time to use Raz S3. That's why we use it. You'll notice also I'm not using Spectre S3 a lot in this fight, and that's because I'm waiting for the ideal time to burst for big damage, and it just has never presented itself. Killing the mobs like is nice. It doesn't do a whole lot though because she just revives every time she uses her S3. You can see really, really close to dying here. You need to like you're riding like I feel like on the razor's edge of RNG this whole fight. It's so annoying. So just keep trying. If you're frustrated with it, trust me, I understand. Like I had to get up and like get a glass of water, stretch out the legs and everything because it was this is a really annoying fight. It was nowhere near as bad as 105 was pre-nerf, but I think that this was a bit more annoying than 110 for sure. Again, we just YOLO this because S3 is up. She's immune to provoke, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. When she has her ultimate stocked, you can't provoke her, so don't even bother with it. So they have no evade on anything, so I might as well just get everything up. Slowly whittling our way down to 40% because, that's kind of how it is. We just don't get defense breaks. Debating whether or not it's worth it to S2 here with the Soulburn when I'm blinded, or do I just go for the strip? And then I eventually decide I think it's better to kill the mob here just because it mitigates the incoming damage. Yes, I know I said killing the mobs is not really worth it, but in this case it kind of is just because you can see my Fallen Cecilia is kind of low on health, and if I can eliminate one of those AoEs It's kind of like the equivalent of healing Fallen Cecilia. Like, it's like virtual healing. Essentially, you're not really healing her, but you've mitigated incoming damage to her as a result, so it might be worth it. And you can see, like, look, my Fallen Cecilia was super low there, so I kind of risked it. And I'm risking this one as well, even though I'm blind. I mean, I'm going to get countered. I think it's worth it because he gets the heal, and I need the defense buff. Anything I can. I'm at this point, I'm desperate to keep FCC alive. Because once she goes down, I can't do the main mechanic of the fight, which is keep FCC provoked. If you or Mui provoked, if you can't keep Mui provoked, you're gonna die really quickly from that defense pen and all those bleeds and stuns. S1. That's why Raz is really good here. Also, he gets rid of the buffs because when you go to 40%, she's gonna get those buffs back again. So being able to get rid of her buffs with Raz S1 when he's not S2ing is pretty nice. So now we're going to slowly roll into getting her to 40% and timing it so that idle is up at the same time. And then just provoke again. Yep. If idle's not up, at least S2 is up. And then I think this is the part where I actually finally start to defense break. No, it's not. You can see my RNG is terrible. Like, I still won, but like we didn't get any defense breaks on this run. Like, we got no favors from RNG. Didn't get the provoke, so you can see, take a ton of damage. Thankfully, Tamarin did not get stunned. If she got stunned, the run would be over. I had multiple runs where I've gotten to this point, and then she got stunned. There we go. Finally get a defense break. And now we're in good shape because we have idle. They have the defense break. We're going to zip everybody here up to the front, and we're most likely going to be able to get Raz, Spectre, and Tamarin to all take a turn before Mui, which is great. So now this is when I think we go for the S3 because we finally have a defense break on her. So it's actually worth it because it'll do more damage than the S1 for once. Now I'm debating right now if I want to soul burn, if it's worth it to soul burn. But I decided to just keep it easy because in that case I wouldn't be able to soul burn Razes too. So if something went wrong and I didn't get the kill, that'd be great. So now we get a dub here as long as we strip with Tamarin, which we do. So that's going to be a W. And there you go. You can see I literally only landed like one defense break the entire fight, and that's all it was needed to actually win. So, all right, now I'll just show you guys my gear and my stats. Again, I did this during free on equip. You should always aim to be pushing as far as you can in Abyss when there's free on equip, since there's no penalty. You should just be using like the absolute best gear you have in your box to be able to push it. So you can see I'm basically on my Besaris gear. So you can see 263 speed on Raz, and then I have over 85% effectiveness. Tamarin has absolutely no bulk. We're just trying to go decent speed. Rod of Amaryllis is key. You literally can't win this without Rod of Amaryllis. It's just not possible. She just doesn't heal enough. So that's the clutch MVP artifact. So make sure you have it. Spectre is literally on my rage set for Watcher Shuri for Azamantic. And then Fallen Cecilia is literally on my normal PvP Fallen Cecilia artifact with the exception of the ring. The ring is an effectiveness ring. And that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed.